You probably think the past is gone. Not metaphorically gone. Actually gone. Yesterday happened and then it disappeared like smoke after a match. That feels obvious, Kumble. Almost polite. But let me make this uncomfortable fast. Nothing in physics ever says the past has to vanish. Not once, not quietly, not in fine print. We just assume it does. We walk around acting as if the universe is constantly deleting itself behind us frame by frame, leaving only a thin slice called no. And because it feels right, we never question it. Here is the problem. Physics doesn't know what now means. It doesn't recognize it. It doesn't protect it. If you take the laws seriously, really seriously, then the past isn't something that was. It's something you've stopped interacting with. And that's a very different statement. Because if the past isn't gone, then your intuition about time isn't just incomplete. It's lying to you. And once you notice that, it's hard to feel comfortable inside a moment ever again. So let's slow down and try something together. Nothing fancy. No machines, no equations. Just imagine this. You're standing in a quiet room. No clocks, no windows sound. You take one step forward. Now pause. Ask yourself a simple question. When did that step happen? You might say, just now. That feels safe. But imagine someone else is watching you from far away, moving very fast relative to you. They don't agree. For them, parts of your step are still in the future. Other parts already belong to the past. Same step, different answers. That should bother you more than it does. Let's make it worse. Imagine you clap your hands, you hear the sound immediately. Feels like a single moment. But somewhere else, far enough away, that sound hasn't arrived yet. For them, your clap hasn't happened. And somewhere else again, it already has. So ask it again slowly this time. When did the clap exist? Was it only real when you felt it? Was it real before anyone heard it? Did it wait for permission? Or was it always there, just unreachable from certain viewpoints? Here is where your intuition starts to slip, because you're used to thinking of time as a universal conveyor belt. Events step on the ride forward and they fall off the back and vanish. But that picture quietly assumes something huge. It assumes there's a single, shared now that the universe agrees on, and there isn't. Not even close. Now put yourself deeper into this. Imagine your entire life, every step, every thought, every mistake laid out not in a sequence, but as a structure. Like a city, you can only walk through one street at a time. You feel motion, you feel flow. But the city isn't being built as you walk. It's already there. Your childhood doesn't disappear because you left it. You just can't reach it from where you're standing. And suddenly the question changes. The question isn't, why does the past feel gone? The question is much stranger. Why does it feel like anything is moving at all? At this point, most people try to rescue the old picture. They say, fine, maybe now isn't universal, but surely the past is still fixed. Surely it's done. That feels reasonable. So let's test it. Take something solid. Energy, for example. We're comfortable with that. Energy feels like a quantity you carry forward. You had some yesterday. You have some now. Nothing spooky. But here's the catch. Energy doesn't live in time. It doesn't march forward with you. What physics actually keeps track of is something stranger. A total motion that never changes, only gets redirected. You don't move through time because time is flowing. You move because motion itself has nowhere else to go. And that's where the intuition breaks. Because once you stop treating time as a river, you lose the idea that things get used up. The past doesn't spend itself. It doesn't decay. It doesn't drain away like fuel. It simply stops being accessible. And accessibility is not the same thing as existence. We make this mistake all the time. You can't access the other side of the planet right now. That doesn't mean it isn't there. You can't access yesterday. That doesn't mean it's gone. Our intuition keeps insisting on an absolute reference point, a master clock, a cosmic present, a privileged slice where reality happens. But physics refuses to give us one. Every attempt to point at the present collapses into perspective. Every attempt to isolate the past turns into a limitation of reach. And at this moment, the uncomfortable thought settles in. Maybe nothing is failing to move forward. Maybe we're just mistaking our path through reality for reality itself. So if the old picture collapses, we need a new one. But not a fancy one. It's just an honest one. Start with something simple. Stop thinking of time as a thing that flows. Instead, think of it as a direction, not special, not sacred. Just a direction like left, right, forward, up. You don't ask why space exists ahead of you. It's just there. Time works the same way. Now here is the strange part. You are always moving, not metaphorically, not psychologically, physically. There is a constant amount of motion built into existence itself. It never changes. It never speeds up or slows down. What changes is only where that motion goes. If you're standing still in space, all of it goes into time. If you start moving through space, some of it gets diverted, not added, not stolen, redirected. That's why motion through space affects motion through time. Not because time reacts, but because the total motion must remain the same. This already feels odd, but stay with it, because once time becomes a direction instead of a flow, a lot of puzzles stop being mysterious. You don't cleave the past any more than you leave the place behind you when you take a step forward. You simply change which direction you're moving through. The past doesn't fade. It just lies in a different direction than the one you're currently facing. Now let's push this until it becomes unavoidable. Imagine reality as a vast structure, not a movie, not a sequence, a structure. Every event has coordinates not just in space, but in time. And those coordinates don't update. They don't refresh. They don't wait for you. They simply are. Your life is not a line being drawn. It takes a path being traced. And the tracing does not create the structure. It only reveals one route through it. Here's the moment where most people start to feel uneasy. Because if that's true, then the future is not being generated, and the past is not being erased. They are both parts of the same geometry. Now we reach the central constraint, the one that locks everything into place. There is a maximum speed, not because the universe is tired, not because it needs time to think, but because causality needs protection. If signals could move faster than that limit, you could mix up cause and effect. You could build loops where outcomes erase their own origins. The universe does not allow that, so it enforces a rule: everyone moves through reality at the same total rate. You can trade motion in space for motion in time, but you can't exceed the total. This isn't a force. It's not pushing you. It's a constraint. And constraints don't do anything. They define what's possible. This is the midpoint where the picture snaps into place. The speed of light isn't about light. It's about preserving the structure of reality. Once you accept that, time stops behaving like a river and starts behaving like a map. And maps don't flow. They just exist. Your sense of now is not a property of the universe. It is a property of your trajectory. You experience moments one at a time, not because reality is unfolding, but because that's how paths work. They only let you be in one place at once. And suddenly, the earlier discomfort returns stronger, but clearer. The past isn't gone. The future isn't waiting. You are moving. And motion, once you stop confusing it for destruction, turns out to explain almost everything. At this point, this can all feel like a clever story. Interesting, disturbing, but abstract. So let's ground it. Right now as you watch this, your phone knows where it is, not roughly, precisely. And it knows because satellites don't agree on time. They can't. They're moving differently than you are. They're higher in a gravitational field. Their clocks tick at different rates. If engineers pretended there was one universal now, your location would drift fast, miles per day. So they don't pretend. They calculate with multiple times, multiple perspectives, no single present, and it works. Your map doesn't fail because time is strange. It works because time is. This isn't philosophy sneaking into physics. It's physics refusing to simplify itself for comfort. Every time your location updates, it quietly confirms the same unsettling idea. The universe does not organize itself around your moment. You are navigating a structure that was never built to revolve around no. Once you see it this way, the universe feels less dramatic and far more strict. Nothing is being pushed forward. Nothing is pulling you along. There are no forces dragging the future into existence or sweeping the past away. There are only constraints, and constraints don't negotiate. They don't care what feels natural. They don't care what you expected time to be. They quietly decide what motions are allowed and which ones are impossible. Here is the reframing that tends to linger. Time doesn't move things. It limits how things can move. That's a very different role. It means reality isn't animated by flow, but shaped by structure. Moments don't replace one another. They coexist, separated by directions you can't turn toward. The unsettling part isn't that the universe is frozen. It's that it's complete. Your sense of change comes not from reality rearranging itself, but from the path you're forced to follow through it. And once that settles in, time stops feeling like a background feature and starts feeling like the quiet rule that everything must obey. Later today, something ordinary will happen. You'll pause, maybe in a doorway, maybe at a red light, and for a moment, you'll feel the present thin, fragile, precise. Here is the quiet thought to take with you. That moment isn't replacing the one before it. It isn't erasing anything. You're just moving. Past moments aren't gone. Future ones aren't approaching. They're all already there, arranged in a structure you can only touch one slice at a time. And every step you take, every second you feel passing, isn't time flowing. It's you tracing a path through a reality that was never waiting for now.